Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to the Daily Edge. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. A little news and a little motivation for you guys. Hopefully get you through your work week. Oh, drinking some coffee. Num num. I got this awesome picture back here. Old lady got printed out. Oh, well, at least I always got her. Try to cover myself. Anyways, moving on, goofballs. What's going on in the news for today? Maybe we solved that strike issue and the shutdown issue.
Great. Now that your stream is live,
yes.
Here are the top headlines for today, November 10th, 2025, to anchor your Daily Edge program. The Daily Edge. Top news, 11:31 a.m. 1. U.S. government shutdown breakthrough. The latest. The Senate made significant progress towards ending the longest ever U.S. government shutdown after a key procedural vote succeeded late Sunday. The compromise bill advanced with support from a handful of moderate Democrats.
Okay.
The angle. The measure is expected to fund the government through January 30th, 2026, and includes provisions for back pay and reversing firings of federal workers. Markets are reacting with optimism, pushing stocks higher. 2. Market rally led by tech. The latest U.S. major indexes, NASDAQ, S&P 500, Dow Jones, are up this morning, fueled by the optimism over the shutdown ending. The angle. This relief is removing a major headwind for investor confidence, with tech stocks, especially the Magnificent Seven, leading the gains, a possible sign that investors are rotating back to growth. 3. Geopolitical development. Syria at the White House. The latest. Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara is scheduled to hold talks with President Trump at the White House today, a major diplomatic event. The angle. This is the first such official visit by a Syrian leader since 1946. The Syrian leader is expected to push for a full lifting of U.S. sanctions on his country. 4. Supreme Court cases on elections and food aid. The latest. The Supreme Court announced it will hear a pivotal case challenging whether states can accept mail-in ballots that arrive after Election Day. A U.S. appeals court denied the administration's request to limit SNAP food aid payments temporarily during the shutdown, ensuring full payments continue for now. Do you want me to elaborate on the market reaction to the shutdown, or provide more detail on the Supreme Court case to lead off your show?
Yes, please. We need to learn a little bit more about that shutdown. Let's get in depth. In depth.
This is the most compelling story for your audience right now. Getting into the details of this political gridlock and how it's ending provides high-value analysis for the Daily Edge. Here is an in-depth breakdown of the historic government shutdown and the compromise deal. In depth, the end of the longest U.S. government shutdown. The crisis, longest in U.S. history. Duration. The shutdown has lasted for 41 days since October 1st, making it the longest federal government shutdown in American history. The stalemate, the central conflict, was the Affordable Care Act, ACA, tax credits. Democrats demanded that any funding bill must include an extension of these enhanced ACA premium tax credits, which are set to expire at the end of 2025, and, if allowed to lapse, are forecasted to increase premiums by an average of 26%. Republicans, however, insisted on a clean funding bill first. The impact. The shutdown resulted in the furlough of nearly 700,000 federal workers, and forced roughly another 700,000 to work without pay, causing significant financial strain. It also led to mass flight cancellations and delays due to FAA staffing shortages and delays in critical economic data releases. The compromise deal. The breakthrough came late Sunday when a group of 8 Democrats, 7 senators plus independent Angus King, who caucuses with them, broke ranks to vote with Republicans to advance a compromise bill. Component, detail, impact, funding duration, provides a continuing resolution, CR, to fund most of the federal government through January 30th, 2026. Reopens the government and allows essential services to resume immediately. Back pay/workers. The bill will guarantee retroactive pay for all furloughed federal workers and those who worked without pay. It also undoes mass firings of federal workers that occurred during the shutdown. directly addresses the immediate crisis facing federal employees and their families. Key appropriations. It includes full year-long funding through September 2026 for 3 specific appropriations bills. Veterans Affairs.
Come on, man. All right.
Military construction, and agriculture programs.
Yes.
This shields critical, politically popular programs from future short-term funding fights. ACA subsidy vote. The deal does not extend the expiring ACA tax credits. However, the agreement includes a promise for a guaranteed vote on the healthcare subsidies by the second week of December.
Mm-hmm.
This was the concession by the Democrats who broke ranks. They accepted the promise of a later vote rather than immediate inclusion, which broke the stalemate. Political dynamics. Democratic split. The 8 senators who voted to advance the bill faced immediate backlash from their party leadership, like Senator Chuck Schumer, but argued that this was the only deal on the table to end the public pain and secure a commitment for the December healthcare vote. Next step. The compromise bill must now pass the House of Representatives and be signed by the president. Speaker Mike Johnson has signaled the House should vote on it as soon as possible. This deal shifts the focus from government funding to the looming December deadline for the ACA subsidies and the political fight over healthcare costs. Would you like to start with the market reaction to this deal or the geopolitical angle of the Syrian president's White House visit?
Syrian White House visit. I don't know. You guys want anything specific while we're just chilling here? Everything's kind of flowing together besides market reaction. Yeah, let's hear a little bit about the market reaction. Tried some new coffee too, French silk or something.
Market reaction to the shutdown deal. The Senate's procedural vote to advance the bill to end the government shutdown immediately triggered a risk-on rally in U.S. markets today, as investors breathed a sigh of relief that a major source of economic uncertainty is likely ending.
Okay.
Key market movement. Index. Reaction. Details. NASDAQ Composite. Surged, up about 1.8% in early trading. Led the gains, signaling a strong rebound for technology shares. S&P 500 rose, up about 1.2%. Followed its worst week in about a month, indicating broad relief. Dow Jones Industrial advanced, up about 0.7%. The blue chip index also moved higher, though gains were more modest than the tech-heavy NASDAQ. Sector spotlight, technology and AI. The biggest winners were technology and semiconductor stocks.
Okay.
The tech sector had been hit hard last week on worries about AI valuations, so the removal of the shutdown uncertainty led to a powerful rebound. Chipmakers like Micron jumped over 7%. Airlines. U.S. airline stocks saw gains on the hope that the government will be fully reopened before the busy Thanksgiving holiday travel season, preventing further flight cancellations and FAA staff disruptions. Health insurers. This was the main sector that saw losses. Major health insurance stocks like Cigna and Humana slipped because the Senate deal did not immediately guarantee the extension of the ACA premium tax credits, creating lingering uncertainty for their business models. Bonds and currencies. The shift to a risk-on mood caused Treasury yields to rise, meaning bond prices fell, as safe haven demand for bonds waned. The US dollar also underperformed against most major foreign currencies. The analyst view, the consensus is that ending the shutdown removes a major economic headwind and a huge chunk of uncertainty. Critically, a reopening will allow the government to finally release key economic data, such as missed jobs reports, that the Federal Reserve and investors have been flying blind without since the beginning of October. This data will be vital for anticipating the Fed's next moves on interest rates. The video stocks rally on Beth's shutdown ending is near. Markets wrap reflects the broad market excitement surrounding the potential end of the government shutdown.
All right, just thinking, putting it all together in my head. Sorry, sometimes I am a little slower. All right. Anything else major going on in national or world news? National or world news? Yeah, and you don't gotta talk to me about it. Let me just check some stuff
I will
out.
focus on the biggest national and world news
Yeah, you could. What?
stories,
Okay.
setting aside the government shutdown and market reactions, which we have
C.
already covered in depth.
CC.
Top national and world news. National. Trump pardons 2020 election allies. The most significant domestic news is a wave of sweeping and unconditional pardons issued by President Trump. Who was pardoned? The pardons were granted to many of his top allies involved in efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. This includes prominent figures like Rudy Giuliani, former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and attorneys John Eastman and Kenneth Chesebro. The scope. The pardons apply only to federal charges. They do not cover any state-level charges, such as the indictments Giuliani is facing in Georgia and Arizona. Context. This move comes after the president had previously pardoned more than 1,000 individuals involved in the January 6th events earlier this year. World UN Climate Summit, COP30, opens in Brazil. Internationally, the focus is shifting to the environment as the largest global climate talks begin. The event, the COP30 Climate Summit, is officially underway in Brazil. The controversy reporting highlights that over 5,000 fossil fuel lobbyists were granted access to the UN climate talks, a development that critics say has historically helped block concrete climate action. The backdrop. The summit opens as weather-related disasters are in the news, with the Philippines being hit by severe back-to-back deadly typhoons. Other major headlines. Transgender athletes. The International Olympic Committee, IOC, is reportedly set to announce a ban on all transgender athletes and those with differences of sexual development, DSD, from competing in female events at the Olympics, starting early next year. U.S.-China trade. A recent trade and economic deal between the U.S. and China is coming into effect. It includes China lifting export controls on critical minerals like rare earths, and the U.S. lowering some tariffs on Chinese imports. India terror module. Police in India have uncovered an interstate terror module with transnational links after recovering explosives from a doctor's house in Faridabad. Would you like to delve into the details of the Trump pardons or the COP30 climate summit?
Well, I want to hear about India too. But I do want to know who he pardoned, what happened.
Details on the Trump pardons? President Trump issued a proclamation of full, complete, and unconditional pardon to over 70 individuals connected to the efforts to challenge and overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. The pardon applies to any federal crimes related to their actions around the election, including the advice, creation, organization, and advocacy for any slate of presidential electors in connection with the 2020 election. Key individuals pardoned. Individual. Former role/alleged activity. Status of other cases. Rudy Giuliani, former personal lawyer, central figure in efforts to pressure state legislatures and spread claims of fraud. Faces state charges in Georgia and Arizona, previously ordered to pay nearly $150 million in defamation suit. Pardon does not cover state cases. Mark Meadows, former White House Chief of Staff, accused of involvement in the overall scheme to interfere with the transfer of power. Faces state charges in Georgia. Pardon does not cover state cases. John Eastman, conservative attorney, architect of the legal theory to have Vice President Pence reject electoral votes on January 6th. Named an uncharged co-conspirator in federal probes, faces potential disbarment. Sidney Powell, attorney who promoted widespread conspiracy theories about election fraud, e.g., involving voting machines. Pleaded guilty to state charges in Georgia, faces potential disbarment. Kenneth Chesebro, lawyer who helped spearhead the alternate elector strategy, pleaded guilty to state charges in Georgia. Jeffrey Clark, former Justice Department official who pushed to keep Trump in power, faces potential disbarment. False electors. Dozens of Republican activists who signed false electoral certificates in swing states. Many face state charges in Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, and Wisconsin. Pardon does not cover state cases. The impact of the pardons. 1. Federal immunity. The pardons effectively shield these individuals from any future federal prosecution related to their actions in the 2020 election subversion efforts. 2. Symbolic gesture. For many, including Giuliani, Meadows, and the false electors, The pardons are largely symbolic as they were never charged with federal crimes. Their most significant legal jeopardy remains in the various state-level cases, which presidential pardons cannot affect. The proclamation itself stated that the efforts to prosecute the individuals were a grave national injustice, and the pardons were intended to continue the process of national reconciliation. Would you like to hear more about the Olympic ban on transgender athletes or the opening of the COP30 Climate Summit?
That is kind of sketchy. So, that is going to be a note I take because that's something I want to dig more into. Not right now, but no, you said there was something about India?
You are referring to the major counterterrorism operation in India. Here are the key facts about the terror module busted in the northern states. India Terror Module Bust, a joint operation by the Jammu and Kashmir Police with assistance from the Haryana and Uttar Pradesh Police, busted an interstate and transnational terror module linked to the banned groups Jaish-e-Mohammed (JEM) and Ansar Ghazwatul Hind (AGUH). The arrests and seizures, individuals arrested. Police have arrested at least 7 local operatives from Jammu and Kashmir. This includes highly qualified professionals, specifically 2 doctors. Drive, Muzammil Shakil from Faridabad and Dr. Adil Ahmad Radar, tracked down in Saharanpur, UP, and a woman doctor from Lucknow whose vehicle was allegedly used to transport a rifle. Massive explosives haul. The coordinated raids led to the seizure of an enormous cache of materials across multiple locations, including a rented apartment in Faridabad near Delhi. Total seized: approximately 2,900 kilograms, over 6,300 pounds, of IED making material was recovered. Main component: this included large quantities of a highly inflammable material, suspected to be ammonium nitrate, not RDX, found stored in suitcases and a bucket. Weapons and components security forces also recovered. Assault rifles, including one from a car belonging to one of the doctors, pistols, magazines, and live ammunition. Around 20 timers with batteries, remote controls, walkie-talkie sets, and electronic circuits, indicating preparation for assembling improvised explosive devices, IEDs. The network, police sources describe this as a white-collar terror ecosystem involving radicalized professionals and students who were allegedly in contact with foreign handlers operating from Pakistan and other countries, using encrypted channels for coordination and funding. Would you like more details on the UN Climate Summit, COP30, or the proposed Olympic ban on transgender athletes?
I don't know. No, not really. I just, hearing the news just makes me have a lot of other questions that I look up myself. Some of them we talk about on maybe might have to watch that tonight. Okay. All right. Surely. COP, UN Climate Summit, Olympic band. I suppose. Tell me a little bit about the Olympic ban on transgender athletes, which should have never been a thing. I mean, if you want to be a transgender, but you're a dude, then you got to be a dude, even if you.
That issue is highly debated, and the policies surrounding it are undergoing a significant shift at the highest levels of global sport. While there is no blanket Olympic ban yet, the International Olympic Committee, IOC, is rapidly moving toward creating a universal restriction for transgender women in the female category. Here is a brief overview of the current situation. Status of transgender athlete rules. IOC policy is shifting. The IOC, under its new president, Kirsty Coventry, has taken over the responsibility for setting the eligibility criteria for the Olympic Games, a reversal of its previous policy that left the decision to individual sports federations. Goal: Coventry campaigned on a pledge to protect the female category. Timeline: while a formal decision has not been announced, sources close to the IOC expect a new policy, likely one that bans athletes who have gone through male puberty from the female category, to be introduced in the next 6 to 12 months, potentially in time for the 2028 LA Games. National pressure. The move comes after President Trump signed an executive order in February 2025 that aims to prohibit transgender women from participating in girls and women's sports within the U.S. and directs the Secretary of State to pressure the IOC to amend its rules accordingly. Individual sports federations, IFs, already have bans. Several major international federations that govern Olympic sports have already banned transgender women from elite women's competition, typically requiring athletes to have undergone transition before a certain stage of puberty, usually around 12 years old.
Right.
Examples: World Aquatics, swimming; World Athletics, track and field; UCI, cycling; World Rugby. In short, while the IOC's official overarching policy remains technically open for now, the organization is actively preparing a new rule that is expected to introduce a significant ban on transgender women's participation in the women's category. Would you like a summary of the latest events at the COP30 Climate Summit?
No. Hook me up with some of that local news. What do we got going on locally? Local. 20 minutes of chilling with me. Thank you, everybody who does.
It looks like today, Monday, November 10th, 2025, is a busy day for city government and signals the start of leaf season here in Fairmont, Minnesota. Right. Here are the key local updates. City government updates. Special city council meeting today. The Fairmont City Council is holding a special meeting at 4 p.m. today to consider allegations against an individual subject to the council's authority. Regular city council meeting tonight. The regular city council meeting is scheduled for 5:30 p.m. today in the City Hall Council Chambers. Economic Development Authority, EDA meeting. The EDA is also meeting today at 4:30 p.m. at City Hall. Upcoming public hearing. The City Council has scheduled a public hearing for Monday, November 24th at 5:30 p.m. to get public comment and updates on the city's stormwater pollution prevention plan. Community and services. Leaf pickup begins. Today marks the start of the curbside leaf pickup for Section 3 of the city, which will run all week. Remember to have your leaves in a windrow on the boulevard and keep grass clippings off the street to protect the area lakes. New local business. A new business called Rose's Nails recently opened, offering salon services. Local sports recognition. The 2025 All Sentinel football team and All Sentinel volleyball team have been announced, recognizing top high school athletes in the area. Would you like more information about the city council meetings or perhaps details on the leaf pickup schedule?
No. I think everybody should go to city hall meetings of their own town and look into that. I'm just getting into it. Tell me more about the city hall meeting at 4.
The special city council meeting happening today at 4 p.m. in Fairmont is focused on a sensitive and high-level internal matter. Here are the key details about the meeting. Special city council meeting, 4 p.m. Topic: preliminary consideration of allegations against an individual subject to city council's authority. Legal basis: this item is governed by Minnesota statutes, section 13D.05, subdivision 2B. This statute allows a public body to close a meeting to conduct preliminary consideration of allegations against one of its members. Likely action: the agenda indicates that this portion of the meeting is subject to possible closure to the public. This means the council will likely go into a closed session, private, to discuss the matter. Context: while the individual's name is not explicitly in the notice for today, earlier public notices indicate that the council has been dealing with findings from an investigator regarding allegations of undue influence on a city administrator by certain council members. Fairmont has a council administrator form of government, and the council is the governing body for city employees and elected officials. The primary purpose is for the council to review the evidence and findings regarding the allegations before deciding on any further action. Would you like to know about the agenda for the regular city council meeting that follows this one at 5:30 p.m.?
I do, but not yet. So if they have a closed door, is there some kind of transcripts or something that, the public gets?
That's an excellent question about public access to closed meetings. Here's how the relevant Minnesota laws address recordings of closed sessions like the one today in Fairmont. Rules for closed meetings in Minnesota. Recording is required. Under the Minnesota Open Meeting Law, Min. Stat. Section 13D.05, a public body must electronically record almost all of its closed meetings, including those for the preliminary consideration of allegations. The The only major exception is for meetings closed solely due to attorney-client privilege. The recording is not public data, usually. While the meeting must be recorded, the recording itself is not immediately available to the public.
Okay.
It must be preserved for at least 3 years. The purpose of this rule is to allow an independent review of the recording if there's an allegation that the body improperly closed the meeting or discussed topics outside the allowed scope,
Right.
when data may become public. In the case of allegations against a local public official, the data, which would include the recording or a transcript, generally becomes public when the government entity takes final action on the matter, such as when the official is censured or disciplined, the official resigns while the complaint or charge is pending. Minutes are public. The minutes from the closed meeting, which typically just state the time, place, and attendees, and the statute under which the meeting was closed, are made public. Any final vote or decision to take action must be made in an open, public meeting. In short, for today's 4 p.m. meeting, a recording is required to be made and preserved by the city. However, you will not be able to get a copy of that recording or a transcript unless and until the City Council takes final disciplinary action. Would you like to know which specific section of Fairmont is having their leaves picked up this week?
No, because we just had snow, and I still see at least a quarter of leaves on trees. We got some bare ones. No, somewhat bare ones. Most of them still have leaves on it, or have started to rebud. Yay. Especially with 60s coming. Let's see. However, I'll be able to get a copy of the recording and the transcript. Okay. Let's get into it. What about the 7-day forecast? Sorry, looking at my other notes.
In Fairmont, it'll be cloudy with a high of 33 and a low of 17.
I'm sorry, that's 7 days?
My apologies. You are completely right. I included an extra day in the table. Here is the corrected...
I just didn't like the layout, man. Monday, 33. Cloudy. Tuesday, tomorrow, 50. Sunny. Wednesday, 51. Mostly cloudy. Oh, 60s ain't in there now. 60s, I don't know. I don't know how accurate this is, but I seen 60s somewhere else. We'll see. 59 on Friday, 58 on Saturday, 45 on Sunday. What does this say? Is this any different? Oh, that's why I didn't want to see that. Took it hourly for the next 7 days. All right. So, with everything said today, what feels like a good motivational quote to you? See what AI has to say today, guys. Fuck it.
That is a wonderful question to end on, given that we've just covered detailed planning, YouTube factors, thumbnails, and the importance of pushing through the immediate tasks, like the detailed forecast. A quote about resilience and consistent effort feels appropriate. My choice is, our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Confucius. This quote perfectly captures the spirit of continuous progress in any endeavor, whether it's building a YouTube channel or pursuing any long-term goal. It reminds us that setbacks are just part of the process of becoming stronger. Would you like me to save that quote or search for another one related to any of the topics we discussed today?
No, I think that's a good one. Our greatest glory is not never falling, but is rising every time we fall. Keep that in mind as you go through your week, guys.